Hey, Broker Nation, Scott Peckford here. This is I Love Mortgage Brokering Live, episode number 3. So we're trying new format as well as a new technology. And so we don't have everything, all the pieces that we've ordered have not come in yet, but we're excited about what we can do with this in this next year. On this episode, we have 3 guests, and they're all students from our $25 Million Blueprint program. And so last year we ran a program for 50 students, and it was called the $25 Million Blueprint. And the idea was to help people to scale their businesses, takes proven systems and strategies to apply to their business. And so we had 3 of them on, and I wanted to find out, what did you think of the program? Did it suck? What did you learn? And then what did you apply, and what kind of results did you get? And so we had Dan, Meredith, and Chuck were on the show with me, and they did a fantastic job of sharing their feedback. And so this is a unique episode, but what I love about this is it's allowing me to distill all of the lessons from I Love Mortgage Brokering over the last 3 years, putting it into a format that if it's something you're interested in, you can come and look at applying for a spot. Of course, the content, the 99% of the content that we create is completely free, and the podcast and the videos and everything, but this is something a little bit unique. And if it's something you're interested in, check out mortgageblueprint.io and check out this episode with Dan, Meredith, and Chuck. Everybody for coming to I Love Mortgage Brokering Live. This is a new format that we're trying where you're going to notice that sometimes people are going to show up to the meeting and they're going to be unmuted, and there's going to be dogs barking and stuff in the background, and we're going to do our best. Justin's watching on the side, and so if he sees that, he'll try to mute you just so that we can have the conversation. If you have questions or you want to ask things, you can write them in the chat box, and then we'll tackle some of the questions for you. And so this is a unique episode because I have 3 of my students from the $25 Million Blueprint that came through the fall session with me, and they all I have so many amazing stories from the fall session. We had 50 people go through it. I couldn't get 50 people on this call, but I wanted to bring 3 of them on and just talk about some of the stuff that they had learned and some of the things they did. And one of the cool parts I love about when you give good ideas to smart people like Chuck and Meredith and Dan is that they take them and they make them better. And so and then they come back and the program gets better. So that's super awesome. So we're launching the Blueprint on Friday. So we're opening a new session. We're only taking 40 people. And it's opening on Friday. And so I'm so pumped about that. And we're obsessed with our student success. That's one of the things that we say. We're like, hey, we want to do everything we can to make sure they're successful. And so we just want to share some stories today of you guys. And so first I'm going to pick on Meredith. Hey, Meredith, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the business, where you're located, that kind of stuff.
Hey, so I joined OneLink. So I work for Verica OneLink Mortgage and Financial, and I'm in Winnipeg. And I joined OneLink 10 years ago in May. So I've been a residential mortgage broker. I do residential and commercial, but I'm speaking mostly towards the residential side today. So I've been there almost 10 years.
Cool. And then so before I'm going to ask you about the program. So, and then in your mortgage business, 10 years, what were you doing before that?
So I used to work for MCAP on the commercial lending side as a broker, essentially. And I also did underwriting for a commercial broker as well.
Okay. And so before attending the Blueprint program, what were your thoughts when you first saw it come out? Because you probably saw it by email. What were you thinking when you first saw it?
So I basically, at that point, I was on par to do what I did last year, which is, it was an awesome year, but I always like to grow my business. And my goal actually this year, starting in January or for 2017, was 25 million. But I was still on track from what I had been doing the year before. So I was interested. I wanted to see what it was. So.
Right. Okay, cool. And then, so since you came to it, I know that we did a live workshop with a bunch of online training. Can you give me some ideas of things that you have changed or improvements you made to your business since you attended?
For sure. So I just kind of made a list because that's just who I am. So some of the main things that I've changed. So I already had a process in place. So just basically changing my process to be a customer journey. So being more clear on how to improve the journey for the client. So I think that really made a big difference. So in that, establishing my customer journey, I set out things I want to do now, things I want to add in for 2018, and then things that I don't want to forget about that are ideas I'd like to try to implement in the future. So I kind of highlighted those differently. So that certainly has made a difference. Definitely the game of phones, so calling. So that absolutely has made a huge impact. I tried out one of the apps that you recommended, which was Fly Broadcast, which so I did, with the government changes and everything coming, I did a bunch of dropped calls to a number of clients just to bring in some business prior to January 1st. So that definitely infused my business. We started implementing a morning huddle, which is awesome. So just, setting out who's doing what first thing in the morning, and then I know who's doing what. I have a team of 3. So we work well together, and everyone has their role on the team. And theme days, lots of the apps. So we started using Trello, which I love. Calendly. I've tested out Text Expander. So lots of apps that you came up with. There's lots of great solutions or suggestions. I did some numbers because I know you like numbers. So from the course, so I attended in October in Vaughan. So I can tie directly from the course and the things that I've implemented for November and December. I brought in 11 additional deals, which equates to 2.8 million in volume. So,
right. Okay. And I didn't actually know what you were going to say on this. It was not like you and I hadn't discussed this. You said, I just said, hey, do your numbers. And then, so cool. That's amazing. And so, but the cool part is you actually did the work. So one of the things about this program is that we try to go out and find good ideas and we bring them to you, but you guys still do them. And kudos to you. And we talk about improving ideas. What I loved about when you took the customer journey and you mapped out, okay, here's what we're currently doing in each of the steps. And then you even had, like you had said, you highlighted an area you're like, this is what we're going to eventually do, because you can't fix everything all at once. And I thought it was genius that you actually, instead of, because what often happens is we map out the customer journey and then the things that we intend to do, we don't ever do, we kind of forget about them. But because you baked them in right up front, you were able to remind, now you see them in there and you go, okay, now we're going to turn this one on and we're going to get this process working. So I love that you did that. That was amazing. So that's super cool that you had, that you did the work so anything else that I should ask you about it? Like what other takeaways did you have?
So I think that's kind of the main things I wrote down. I love the theme for the day, so I think that was awesome. And I'm super excited about 2018. I've restructured my team a bit, so I have hired a new assistant. So I'm just in the training stages right now. So I'm excited. I think 2018 is going to be an awesome year. And like every year, I've set a big goal.
Cool. Awesome. And do you mind sharing what your goal is for this year? What, do you?
No, not at all. So I'm in Winnipeg. Our average mortgage is smaller than some other markets. So I did hit just over 25 million in 2017. So my goal for 2018 is 30 million. 30 million.
Good. Awesome. I try to fist bump you, but I don't know if you can. This is new setup. Is totally messing with me. There's cameras everywhere. I see there's one over there, one over here. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Well, I'm going to come back and ask you some more questions, but I'm going to move on to Chuck. So Chuck, how's it going, brother?
Great.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and when you got in the business and which company you're with and that good stuff.
Well, we got into the business. We actually opened the brokerage in 2015, and it's called mortgageguys.com.
It sounds vaguely familiar to some other brand out there. Which one is that?
Property Guys, maybe?
Yeah, maybe Property Guys. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
So we came from the hospitality industry. I have a business partner, Dario, myself, and we got into the whole industry starting with private loans back in 2008. And it just kind of morphed and grew, and people were coming into the pub and saying, we heard you guys are the mortgage guys. We need a mortgage, and we didn't even have cards. So looking kind of for a way to get out of the hospitality industry, as we had been in it for about 25 years, we decided to go get licensed in 2012. And we parked our license with another brokerage far away from home for optics reasons till we had enough time with that license to become the principal broker and open up the brokerage. In 2000.
Right. Okay. So when you say you did private lending, you mean you were lending your own money for the most part, right?
That's right.
Right. So that's kind of how you got your foot in there. Okay. So, and then, and mortgageguys.com is your brand franchise, which I think is a great name.
Yeah, it is.
And so prior, when you got the invite to the program, what were you thinking when you first saw it?
Well, $25 million blueprint was kind of self-explanatory, and it's like, well, if we can grow the business, and if there's tools there to grow the business, I'm open to taking the course and seeing if it helps us.
Right. Okay. And then, so tell me about what kind of things after attending the program and going through this stuff, what kind of stuff, give me some ideas of things that you changed or improved.
So there's a lot in the course, and it's, you can't take everything in that one day that you give out and implement it. So I took what resonated the best with me or the most with me, and we took that and basically created a value proposition in a PowerPoint presentation, and then we got on the phone and started calling realtors. And we started that basically right at the end of October, beginning of November. It was about a month after I took the course because I was sick for a few weeks badly with pneumonia, so I couldn't get to it right away. And in the month of November, we added 17 referral sources from realtors.
Right. And so how many have you added to date and with that?
We've added 19.
Right.
But we shut
Okay.
it down in December because of the time of year. So we're just firing it back up this week. And our goal is by the end of February to have 55 in total.
Right. Just so people understand what Chuck's talking about is essentially, so one of the things that we do, we have these 12 different realtor strategies that we recommend. Chuck took his 4 favorite. And again, remember I talked about good ideas, smart people. And then he creates this presentation that he goes and you're not presenting to these are not like brand new agents either, are they? These are, tell me about the type of agents that you're targeting.
Agents, one agent does 70 million a year, and they saw the value and the value proposition and what we were offering and immediately signed up.
Right. So then you get them to register basically to send you guys referrals. And so, yeah, and it's pretty amazing to add 19 new referral partners in a month and a half. So,
yeah. And it's had an immediate impact on our business. Like for us, we've already taken 17 applications since last Tuesday. And
right.
If we looked at that last year at this time, we were sitting in the office twiddling our thumbs.
Right. I mic drop, except I'll break something, but I'd like to, just, you should drop the mic and walk out now, Chuck. So any other things that you guys took away that you've applied to your business that was helpful for you guys?
Yeah, the customer journey for sure. We took that template that you have, that customer journey, and we tweaked it and modified it to what we thought suits us best, but it's probably 80% still yours. And that is really starting to allow us to be more efficient and to give a more consistent experience.
Right. And maybe just explain to me what's your team setup like too. So maybe so people understand sort of what was it before? Let's do this before you went to this thing, and now what is it like now?
So the team setup really hasn't changed. It's the core of it is myself, Dario, and Debbie. Debbie being an underwriter. One of the things, because we didn't have the experience when we opened up the brokerage in 2015, is we hired a full-time underwriter right from day one. She's been with us from day one. So that's kind of the team within the bigger team. And then outside of that, we have now 11 agents, which is the great thing, which we're starting January 23rd in our team meeting, that this is going to allow me to do as far from a broker's perspective, is that I'm now going to give this template that you were the catalyst for the referrals, and I'm giving it to my other 11 agents on January 23rd to say, hey, this is what we did in a month and a half, adding to our referral sources. This is how you do it. Here's the presentation. Here are the scripts. You can go out and grow your business now with that as well. The one thing I have to say is that I think a lot of people, when it comes to the game of phones, have a lot of people, myself included, have a real hard time cold calling. But when I had those ideas from you and I packaged it all, for me personally, it gave me the confidence to cold call. Because now when I cold call and I asked for the meeting, I really had the confidence that I could deliver something of value and meet with them and offer something of value. So it really gave me the confidence to make those cold calls. And I'm hoping and I believe that I can train all my agents that have those same fears to be able to go do the same thing and give them the tools as well.
Right. It's easy to make a phone call when you have something of value to give someone, because you're like, hey, you're going to want to see this. This is pretty freaking awesome. So
because you believe in it.
When you see it and you believe in it, and then they catch it. You were telling me about one of the guys who does a couple hundred ends a year, and didn't they give you a referral before you even left the building?
Yep.
Yeah. So that was the amount of, because you went in there with confidence and you went in there with a plan and you're able to connect with them. That's totally amazing.
To their team of 4, and we were walking out, and as he was walking out, he said, I got a referral for you. And he gave us one right before we even out the door.
Right. That's amazing. That's so cool. Okay. So I'm going to switch to Dan. Dano, how's it going, brother?
Hey, good man. How are you?
Good. So how are things?
Things are good. Really good.
So tell us about how long you've been in the business, which company you're with, where you're located, that good stuff.
I've been in the broker business for 5.5 years. We're outside of Halifax, roughly, and with Premier Mortgage. Yeah, and they're
In a
with
place called New Minus, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
where Drake Batherson's from. To put it,
Is that a hockey player?
yes, come on, man, you got to know that stuff.
Dude, I'm not a hockey fan. I'm like, I might as well be like, you know what? If it's NFL or something, even then, I'm not very. I enjoy football, but I don't really watch hockey. So, I'm sorry for any hockey people out there. I'm not trying to be offensive. So, okay, tell me about when you first saw the invite for this program. What was going through your head? And well, then we'll talk about sort of your results as well.
Sure. Well, I know that I had kind of signed up to apply for it, and then you had reached out, and we had a phone call. And I think that was a fairly easy thing, just because I've been able to go on. I love mortgage brokering, and I tell newer brokers that kind of reach out and say, "Hey, what should I be doing?" and stuff. I always steer them to that. Like, it blows my mind that it's a free resource for people, and it's such a good community, and people get on there and they open up their brains for people to see how they're doing it, and so anyways, yeah, so I kind of already felt like I knew you a bit from that. And, the pre-work made it a no-brainer. For me, it was a bit more expensive because I had to fly into Toronto, obviously, and spend the night and stuff. So, but you gave us some stuff right out of the gate before the event ever happened. I know you and I have already had this conversation, but I won back a deal that I had lost that actually I knew when I got on the plane, like, my trip was covered. So that was really cool. I love to kind of cap the downside, but we always aggressively invest in our business. And so it was nice to know that I was almost really going there for free.
Right. That's cool. Okay. So then tell me about some of the changes that you've made to your business since you went to it.
I think the biggest piece of it is, and Chuck said you can't take everything away from that day. It's like drinking from a fire hose, but you pick 2 or 3 things, you implement them, and then move on. And for us, we have a 3-person team here that we work kind of as one unit, and that's kind of happened. We were a 3-person team before I came, but it was set up very differently. And the customer journey and really drilling down on what happens from the first phone call from a lead to, congratulations, you're a homeowner, has changed drastically for us.
Right. Okay, cool. And then, so can you give me something specific that you guys have like implemented, or because people like specifics, if you can give like one example of something?
Sure. So I don't want to say too much about, getting right down into the details of what you offer in your course, but I can say that a couple different things. So it used to be when I picked up a lead, or when Heather or Victoria picked up a lead, that person went through a different process depending on who picked it up. And today it's all the exact same process, and trying to create raving fans by the end of it and throughout. So that our process has changed drastically that way. And I will tell you that I did a presentation this morning for 12 realtors. And when I was driving back to the office, I was kind of going through it in my head, and it was just always a good feeling when you feel like it was well received and it went over really, really well. But the core of that presentation has certainly come from this course. And
right. That's awesome.
How we are different, so I'm not a rate guy to begin with, but I never really like talk to realtors about rates. I mean, you can talk to anybody about rates. So it's always kind of the focus of how are we different than everybody else? And a lot of those things, have been through working with you and in the course. So.
Okay. And then tell me, did you write down any numbers, or I don't know if I even mentioned this to you before, but did you keep track of any numbers from going through the program?
Yeah. Well, I won a deal before that I had lost. It was done, like cold turkey, it's over. And then through the pre-work for the course that you had given us, picked up something and just called the client back and said, hey, you know what? What about this? And we end up closing that deal, again, before I ever flew to Toronto. But after that, we used one of your strategies from our database. And I think, that we have like 7 or 8 approvals from that one strategy that will close within the next 30 days. So.
Right. That's awesome, dude. Okay. So now if anybody who's listening, if you guys have a question that you'd like to ask the group, we can throw some questions in here. So I want to go back to Meredith for a second here. So Meredith, what if somebody was thinking about coming to this, what would you say to them?
So I definitely, I would highly recommend it. I mean, I probably, just quick math, I paid to fly from Winnipeg to Toronto as well. So, I probably earned back 10 times what I paid, just in quick math, just by attending. So I think it's definitely worth it. I think, keeping it simple, getting back to basics, there's a lot of good strategies that you provide that I think, and even the 60-day follow-up, like all the, regular calls over that period just keeps people accountable. And I know it certainly made me count my Game of Thrones a little bit closer than I would before. So
Game of Phones. Sure. We don't actually kill people, or that's not that show. Yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to go there. But okay, that's cool. What about you, Chuck?
You can't afford not to take the course if you want to grow your business or improve the processes. And even if you don't want to grow your business, you're happy with your volume, but you want to become more efficient and have a little less stress. You can't afford not to take the course. It's a small price to pay for what is delivered and given.
Cool. Thanks, brother. And what about you, Dan?
Yeah, I would echo that. I always look at it from an investment standpoint. So if you take the course and then you close an extra $1 million within a couple months of that course, or every year thereafter, I mean, it's a huge return on investment. So it blows my mind that more people don't kind of invest back in the business. But this one, yeah, absolutely. It was a good investment for me, for sure.
Okay. Well, hey, so what I want to just let people know about is somebody said, great job, guys. Thanks for sharing. That's from Shelley. So a couple things. So when we went through the program, you had mentioned, Dan, about it's like a fire hose. So we did this 1-day workshop. And I before I want to make sure that you guys know that the ideas that I'm sharing in this training, I didn't invent this stuff. Like, one of my philosophies is always cheat on the test. And so if somebody's already figured something out, I've been a mortgage broker for 11 years, and I've tried a lot of times to figure things out myself. And in this program, I went out and I found, from the last 3 years of doing ILMB mortgage brokering, best practices, best strategies, compiled it in a way that was hopefully useful to people so that when they can take it and go home and do it themselves. But one of the things I realized is doing that live workshop, there's just too much content, and it's even challenging to even figure out where to start. And so with the new program, the way we're doing it is you only get one module per week. And we're doing it over a 10-week period instead of 8, because we're like, hey, look, let's give you one day of live training. So that's on a Tuesday. That gives you, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Thursday we do a Q&A. So what happens is you have time to actually do some of the work. So it's like, hey, we're going to work on customer journey, for example. You're going to go work on it, and then we're going to do live Q&A. And then the cool part about the Q&A is that what happened with you guys is we would talk about what you were doing. And sometimes I would literally be floored because somebody would be like, oh, like Meredith, I did this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. You took the original idea and you learning in a small group setting, which was super awesome. So that was cool. And then the Q&A, so that's basically how the program works. And then when the program be out west, so the program it's now done online. So it's done virtually. There is some live components to it if you want, but they're optional. But you can actually do the program from sitting wherever the heck you are, if you like. And we work with you. It's all done via video and conversation. So I'm pretty jacked about that. And I'm really grateful to you guys for, first of all, coming to this program with no, there was no proven track record. It was just like, well, I think it'll be okay. Like, hopefully it doesn't suck. And you guys came, and then not only did you come, you took this, which gets me the most excited, because I know there's a lot of people who will listen to a podcast and they'll get excited and they'll be like, oh, I learned, or they'll go to a seminar and they'll come back and they'll do nothing different. And that makes me so frustrated but disappointed at the same time. And so what I loved is about the people that actually came, they're action takers. They showed up. They said, I'm going to do this. I put money into it, so I want to get every nickel I can out of it. And so good on you guys for doing it. So I'm so grateful for you guys and I actually love this. So the other part is that out of all the things I get to do, this is the thing that gives me the most joy. And so that you guys, doing this with me just makes me so excited. I skip to work every day. So thank you guys for that. And just for being, and for the ILMB mortgage broking community who's like, hey, this isn't a normal podcast, Scott. Like, what the heck is this about? So hopefully you will understand what we're trying to do. Our intention is all about just trying to help, and we're here to serve. So I really appreciate that. So good stuff. Somebody asked about the program January 12th. So you guys have any last words you want to say? So maybe Meredith, I'll start with you.
I would just reiterate, basically it's about the client. I mean, I think that's my goal always is to serve the client, not to sell. And I think, if you keep it simple and make it about the client and always, clean up your process and make it the best experience possible. That's certainly a lot of stuff we learned from you, Scott. So that was awesome. And I definitely appreciate being able to attend.
Cool. Thanks. What about you, Chuck?
Just
Any
would
last
like to
words?
reiterate that you can't afford not to take it. The value is there. If you're willing to take action from what you get from the course, it'll pay you back in spades. So I would encourage anybody who's wavering and sitting on the fence, just do it and take the course.
And what about you, Dano?
Yeah, Scotty, I would just say
Thanks, Chuck.
thanks a lot for doing what you do. Like whether it's this stuff or the podcast or the Facebook group. I'm on it on a regular basis, and I take a lot more from it than I ever give. So greatly appreciate it.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. And so if anybody's interested in this, we're doing a 4-part webinar series. So we're giving away a whole bunch of free training with it. It's at mortgageblueprint.io. And so you can check out some of the stuff. And those are tools and to help you with your business. And so thank you guys for being on this. And thank you for the listeners being here today. We had almost 50 people. So thanks for being here. And guys, keep crushing it.